Public domain, you know, that thing that makes any property cannon fodder for B-list Hollywood movies. Yeah, that nifty little law that means that anyone and anything can be written about past a certain point if rights aren't extended. That's what we're covering today. This is the public domain Works Iceberg, which is all of the famous things that were written a few centuries ago that now just anyone can write anything about. No legal repercussions. So, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and shut up with the introduction and just get started. The Grimm Fairy Tales. For the uninitiated, in 1812, the Brothers Grimm went about Germany and a few other places and collected a lot of very common tales told to children. Surprisingly enough, a lot of these are actually super dark. But you definitely know of these, mostly because they are modernly known as every Disney classic. Yeah, that's right. Disney kinda just shamelessly took Brothers Grimm tales and made them into movies, and that is movies like, I believe, Cinderella, Snow White, and a few others that will be on screen because I'm having a brain fart right now and I can't remember it right now. So, yeah, Walt Disney. Dracula. You know this one. I don't need to introduce this one. It's the first vampire story. Well, not the first, but by far the first to be widely popular. You know the story. Vampire. Castle. Sunlight. Boom. Plot elements. Writing. Easy peasy stuff. Everyone wins, right? Yes, especially Sherlock Holmes, because both of them are in the public domain, and thus there is a shit ton of Dracula versus Sherlock Holmes books for whatever goddamn reason. Frankenstein. The first sci-fi novel, the one written by Mary Shelley, Frankenstein is also in the public domain, which is why you see the poor guy constantly misused in children's movies. Yep, How the Mighty Fall, quite often. But hey, I mean, if it wasn't for Dracula and Frankenstein being in the public domain, we would have never gotten the cinematic masterpiece that is Hotel Transylvania. 1, 2, and is there a third? God, I can't remember. Robin Hood. Yep, you bet your sweet cheeks this guy is also in the public domain, because if he wasn't, DC would have never been able to get away with Green Arrow. And Marvel would have never been able to get away with Hawkeye. And those dozens of movies that came out would have never have been able to come out. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna swap over to a Google tab here. I want to know how many Robin Hood movies there are, because I know there's a shit ton. There's a Disney animated one. There's at least 12 that I've seen in my lifetime. Yep, over 70 adaptations to movie and TV as a whole. Mythological figures and creatures. Now, obviously, you can't just slap a fucking copyright label on Jesus Christ himself, nor can you say that you definitively own the concept of werewolves, so these things always are and always will be in the public domain. Marvel can't say that they own Thor, because while Marvel has a Thor, Thor also existed for like 2,000 years before Marvel. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is one that I hear everyone referencing, but I actually know nothing about it, and kind of just take these icebergs raw. What you're seeing is most of the time my first reaction to the subject, so yeah, I know that one guy's good, one guy's bad, and then they're both in the same body, and it's public domain. Surprisingly, though, people don't really desecrate it, but me talking about it might give Disney some ideas. As a matter of fact, I think I can see a mouse out my window. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Another one I've never heard of, but I actually read about it before I started recording. Basically, you know, this school teacher is bouncing around, he's couch surfing, because even though it's the 1800s and it's not too hard to secure a house, he just doesn't, for whatever reason. And at some point he decides, hey, you know, I want to marry this chick. And then at some point some other guy decides, hey, you know, I want to marry that chick. And it's the same girl, so obviously there's problems. You know, obviously, you know, the girl chooses the one who isn't homeless. Not being homeless does help, believe it or not. Surprising, I know. And then, you know, the teacher rides away, and then whoop, headless horseman. Spooky stuff, right? Except the headless horseman's probably the other dude who wanted the other dude to, get out of town. It's all confusing stuff. It's all from the 1800s. A lot of people often jack off the old masters, but the fact is that old artists wouldn't really hold up in today's era, because while they were groundbreaking for their time, they're often painfully average or below so in modern eras. Up next, we've got Moby Dick. Dick. This is the book about a whale. It's really long for it being about a whale, and we don't know whether or not the guy even shot the whale at the end of it. But anyway, it's in the public domain. There's been a few movies of it. It's pretty well known. It's not like The Legend of Sleepy Hollow where Scooby-Doo's covering it. The kids' mystery shows are like, give me now. But Moby Dick definitely is up there in things constantly referenced in pop culture, which is impressive because most of these stories aren't really that good. They don't really get referenced a lot. I mean, Frankenstein, yeah. Robin Hood, in reference to the company that needs to be burnt to the ground, yeah. Jesus Christ and Thor, well, yes, the American South heavily believes in one, and the other is way fucking cooler. But Moby Dick is about a whale, so it's impressive that it gets referenced as much as it does. And with that, we're through the first level of the iceberg and on to level 2, so thanks for watching this far, thanks for continuing to watch. Buckle your fuckles, get comfortable, we're going even further. The works of Shakespeare. This bitch died in, like, the 17th century. Of course it's public domain. He's been dead for quite some time. Wait, when did he die? Give me just 1 second. Yeah, April 23rd, 1616. Homeboy died the 17th century. So, of course, it's all public domain, as evidenced by Romeo and Juliet, another cinematic masterpiece that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and Romeo and Juliet 2, I believe. And also, all of the modern adaptations of Romeo and Juliet, even though Shakespeare was quite a prolific writer and wrote a lot of other things besides Romeo and Juliet. But hey, no one really cares about any of it. No one even really likes Romeo and Juliet. It's just the one that high school teachers force you to read. So it's the one that everyone knows. That just means that high school is the only thing keeping Shakespeare from forever sinking into obscurity. Just ponder on that. It's a bunch of teenagers keeping that guy's name alive. That's right, 14-year-olds have you by the balls, Shakespeare. That's what you deserve. The works of H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, that's right, all of H.P. Lovecraft's works are also public domain. Which is cool, because cosmic horror is pretty neat, unlike H.P. Lovecraft's cat. H.P. Lovecraft's cat's name is not very neat. But H.P. Lovecraft was active between 1917 to 1937 before he fucking killed himself, so he wrote a considerable amount of stuff. He's mostly just known for Cthulhu, though, because that's a thing that incited the demon tentacle kink in America. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. You're never gonna fucking believe it. It's another Disney movie. Holy shit. Yeah, that's right, The Hunchback of Notre Dame was not an original concept by Disney, because Disney didn't really have a lot of those in the early days, so they just shamelessly stole a story that was public domain. And though Disney might try and steal your dimes if you were to make a Hunchback of Notre Dame work, it is still public domain, so yeah. The Island of Dr. Moreau. I can tell you right now this is in public domain because nobody knows what the fuck it is. That has got to be the weirdest name I've seen yet. So I decided to do a little bit of digging, and it turns out the Island of Dr. Moreau is about a guy who washes up on an island owned by a mad scientist who is making human-animal hybrids, which takes me to my biggest point of confusion, which is this audience review of a 1996 adaptation of the movie. This review specifically, we need more people like Dr. Moreau and less moralists like Stephen Hawking. I appreciate his approach to science. I wish I had more friends like him. This movie seems dated, but the idea is a good one. I would definitely want to work in that island. I'm sorry, what? You mean to say you think the doctor who is, like, horribly mutilating people for fun is cool? The internet was a mistake, the internet gives everyone a voice, but we never considered for a moment that maybe some people just shouldn't have one. This guy in particular. Edgar Allan Poe, and the entire works that he made. You remember that guy that you were forced to read about in high school and probably forced to read a few poems or short stories by? Yeah, that's Edgar Allan Poe. Being the first literate person to land in the continental United States, he quickly became the most talented author in the region, and then promptly died ass naked. Actually, let me double check that fact. Well, he had been drinking heavily, but I don't remember correctly if he was ass naked. Be pretty funny if he was, though. The entire works of Jules Verne. Now, I had to look this guy up. Yeah, kinda sad, especially because he was very pioneering in the science fiction. Thanks, text message. In the science fiction industry. Now, anyways, Jules Verne wrote novels such as Journey to the Center of the Earth, which is now a movie that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stars in, From Under the Moon, which will probably be a movie that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stars in, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is not a movie that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stars in, which is why it failed. Now, some people call this guy the father of science fiction, but let's give credit and respect where credit and respect is due. It's not Jules Verne. As a matter of fact, it's Mary Shelley. Frankenstein was written first. She pioneered science fiction. Give the woman some damn credit. Level 3. If you thought me not knowing any of these fucking entries was piteous in the first two, you're gonna be shocked as we get further down the iceberg. Buckle your fuckles. Nosferatu. Another vampire thing. This one is pretty weird. Also another one that I've never heard of. Believe it or not, I don't really spend a lot of time watching TV or movies or anything really. Most of my free time goes into a YouTube channel. If you could subscribe to it, that'd be pretty great. Anyway, in 1838, in the German town of Wisburg, Thomas Huttler is sent to Transylvania by his employer. What does he encounter? Who is he working with? Vampire. That's right. Yep, vampire. Now, of course, vampire causes some problems, and Mr. Hutter here kinda not big chillin' with that. Not really cool. Now, of course, Hutter's wife reads a book that Hutter found that claims that a vampire can be defeated if a pure-hearted woman distracts a vampire with her beauty. So she's like, yo, vampire, my pussy is poppin'. My titties are bussin'. This ass is fat. Why don't you come in and get a piece of this? And a vampire's like, okay, I pull up. And then she passes out. That's a problem, right? Yep, that's a huge problem. Of course, Hutter's like, oh shit, I gotta go get a doctor. So what happens? Vampire goes in, does not do anything sexual, thank God. At least, it's not implied. But he does fucking kill his Mrs. Hutter. And then the sun rises, which causes Count Orlok the vampire to just die. Books in the 1800s were weird, okay? Now, of course, it's noted for its possible anti-Semitic undertones. So, yeah, that's cool. Now, of course, this isn't a book. I was actually wrong. This is a movie made in 1922. Isn't that neat? A Christmas Carol. Yeah, this movie. Well, there's actually a story first. Either way, what I really love about A Christmas Carol is the fact that it is just a bunch of ghosts going to beat the shit out of some rich asshole until he has some Christmas goddamn spirit and a little bit of charity. I think we should do this to Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and anyone else with a net worth over $1 billion. Spirits, I am begging you. I am pleading. Beat the shit out of rich people. Sherlock Holmes, save for the last 10 novels by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is insanely popular, which is funny, because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle fucking hated it. But I do have a leather-bound copy of the book sitting on my shelf. I read it quite often and thoroughly enjoy it. Now, regardless, Sherlock Holmes has existed for so long, and people haven't really claimed the copyright enough, so he's public domain. Anyone can get in on that. That's also why there's so many Sherlock Holmes vs. Count Dracula novels. I'm gonna Google the actual statistic of Sherlock Holmes vs. Dracula books, because I hear that it's very widespread. Okay, so we have Lauren D. Esselman. This is 1978. Jesus Christ. People must have been really fucking bored in the 20th century when they weren't killing each other. Let's go ahead and get a little bit more specific with it. We need to know. How many Sherlock vs. Count Dracula books are there? 3 books. Nice. That's 3 is a suspicious amount. It's sus. Doesn't sit right. A number of works by Edgar Rice Burroughs. You're never gonna believe what this guy wrote, his most famous work. That's right, it's Tarzan. It's actually Tarzan. Oh, wait, what's that, you ask? A Disney movie. Yep, this iceberg is just Disney movies, along with a nice sprinkling of The Rock. The Phantom of the Opera. No, not the super famous play, the 1910 novel. Yeah, basically, masked musical genius living underneath the Paris Opera House. What does the main character do? Fall in love, obviously. Does that end well? I don't know. Does it? Well, that's very descriptive right there. Hold on. So, yeah, basically, people are surprised, and then Phantom does marry the main character. Okay, good. That's what we need to know. What do we need to know?
They fuck at the end of the book.
The works of Hans Christian Andersen. Hans Christian Andersen doesn't exist. Why? Because he's a supposedly Danish author, and as we know, Danish isn't a real country. The Netherlands? Yeah, the Netherlands is not real. Dutch isn't a language. Now, you probably know of this guy, quotation marks, because this person supposedly wrote the beloved Disney movie that shamelessly stole some author's idea, The Little Mermaid. He wrote the book that was based off of. This is, of course, if Hans Christian Andersen is a real person, because as we all know, Dutch is not a real language. Beauty and the Beast. Oh no. The Disney movie. Who could have ever guessed this? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna wipe out this entire row right here because it's all Disney movies. Peter Pan, yeah, that was a novel. It was a novel. Boom, Disney movie. Mulan, great Chinese epic. Has fantastic Chinese film that doesn't have Disney's grubby, amoral fingers all over it. It became a Disney movie. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alice did drugs in the book too. Oh, well, whoops, it became a Disney movie. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. This was actually a pretty good novel. I enjoyed this. I got a 3-pack set of novels when I was 10. That was Peter Pan, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and Call of the Wild. And Call of the Wild was my favorite, not because I'm a furry, but because dogs are fucking cool, yo. But Wizard of Oz was a close second. Peter Pan was kind of mid. So, yeah, what is this level of the iceberg? It's all Disney. Whoops, all Disney. Night of the Living Dead. No funny business here. No book that the movie was based off of. Nope. The movie itself, the genius film that definitely set a precedent for good films in America, is public domain, which means it's completely free to watch and distribute. Now, of course, this is because the owners of the movie forgot to put a motion that they still own the movie, and thus United States law said,
"Get fucked!"
The Rake creepypasta. Now, copyright in online spaces has always been a very iffy deal. So I don't think The Rake was ever really copyrighted to begin with, and because it's an online work, people are going to build off of that in their own unique ways, the same way that most online works are uniquely built off of from each other. So yeah, that's interesting, I guess. I wonder how much Rake gay erotica there is. Let's find out. Some search results may be explicit.
That's what I'm looking for, baby.
Last Man on Earth 1964 film. You probably know this film as I Am Legend. Let me go ahead and give you a rundown of the plot. Super freaky deaky plague that turns humans into vampiric creatures who are also kind of undead, zombie-like. Everyone is infected by this plague except for one doctor. Doctor's got a dog. Uh-oh. Not anymore, he doesn't. Singular woman appears from nowhere. Uh-oh, there's some problems with that. Doctor ultimately learns that the vampires he's been mercilessly fucking murdering for the last few years are actually still alive and still sentient. And the doctor's actually just kind of a piece of shit. Doctor's immune and his blood can cure the disease, but that doesn't matter because he's killed as penance for his sins. I Am Legend. Homeboy chillin'. Disease that turns people into, vampiric undead creatures suddenly becomes a big issue. Homie has dog. Not anymore. Singular woman and child suddenly appear from nowhere. Hey, whoa, that's really cool. There's not just me out there. Vampires attack. Homie learns that he has, as a matter of fact, been ruthlessly murdering still sentient beings. I would say that this is some foul piracy, but The Last Man on Earth is copyright free because the owners of the movie didn't reapply. So Will Smith isn't out of pocket for this. Now, his wife, ex-wife, cheating leech, she's definitely out of pocket for the shit she's doing. You know how far you gotta go for 50 Cent to say, "Why you doing this?" King Kong, 1933 novel. It's impressive that people were still making art during the Great Depression, but we're going to be seeing the same wave of impressiveness soon as the new economic collapse quickly approaches. But King Kong is not based off of a book. Actually, the King Kong book is based off of the 1932 movie, and it's all a marketing scheme, a relatively genius marketing scheme, if you ask me. So, why? Why would you do that to me, News? Anyway, what exactly would you do with the King Kong book? What's going on? The same shit as the movie. It's just fucking written down so people who don't want to watch movies read it anyways, and everyone still makes money. There's a Go-Gurt that's been sitting in my desk drawer for over a month. I wonder if it's still edible. Anyway, King Kong is one of those books that has just been, well, works of art that has just been overdone so many times that it's actually lost what originally made it, and it's rather just a series of diluted interpretations of the last interpretation. It's like a game of telephone, stretched so far from the original statement that you have no clue what the fuck was trying to be told except
Big monkey.
Ghost Rider, Rex Fury. Yeah, a lot of Golden Age comic book heroes are actually in the public domain, but originally Ghost Rider wasn't badass r/the-pack flaming skull biker dude. He was just a cowboy who pretended to be a ghost to spook the shit out of everyone, which is kinda neat. Now, of course, because this was made in like the 50s, the original Ghost Rider Rex Fury is now in the public domain, which gives you full right to write gay Rex Fury erotica and then monetize it. Please don't, but it's something that you could do. Arsene Lupin. Arsene Lupin is a fictional French gentleman and thief, which is awfully bold to presume that French people, in fact, aren't assholes. I don't know, that's just a broad sweeping generalization meant for cheap humor. So, they're not, but I'm gonna make jokes anyways. Meta humor. Now, Arsene Lupin is basically one of those stories that, while not all too intriguing on its own, was written at a time when people started realizing that, hey, depressed Russians, fucking Shakespeare, and the Bible all don't make for very good reading. Could we please have something else? And then someone comes up with a basic concept like, hey, this guy steals shit, or yo, this dude's a detective, and people are like,
Holy shit, give me every fucking word. I'll give you all my money.
But yeah, this guy's really low on the iceberg because it's one of those things that, like, I don't think anyone really knows about anymore. Which is sad, but that's the fate of 99% of art, doomed to forever fade into obscurity. Within 20 years, it's likely that no one will ever even remember this video. The Golden Bat, only in Japan. The Golden Bat, definitely the most obscure on this list, is Japan's first superhero. Debuting in 1930, the Golden Bat is actually some dude from Atlantis who was thrown forward in time 10,000 years and told to solve problems with a rapier, a red cape, and weirdly colored eyes, one red, one blue specifically. Now, the Golden Bat managed to survive the widespread decline of the specific storytelling format it was in after, Japan got the sun
Dropped on it twice, courtesy the USA, baby.
and was even adapted into manga and anime. Interesting stuff. I've never heard of this guy. I doubt even the most dedicated never leaves his mommy's basement, drinks honey mustard for fun otaku or weeaboo hasn't even heard of the Golden Bat. But hey, I might be wrong. I don't know. Definitely interesting stuff to see how superheroes have been around for almost a century. At least named superheroes have been around a lot longer before that. But it's weird to see comic books potentially turning 100 years old within my lifetime. What the fuck is that? And we did it. That's the iceberg done. That's the iceberg finished. Let's fucking go, baby. That's the good stuff, right? So if you watched this far, I'd like to take a moment to just genuinely thank you. It means the world to me that people watch these goofy, silly videos that I make. And if you're new here, go ahead and just subscribe. You watched this far into the video. I'm clearly mildly entertaining, you're clearly mildly bored, win-win situation for everyone. You can always undo it later if you hate my guts. Now, without further ado, it's 3 in the morning and I have to be up for work at 4, so I'm gonna get some sleep. Have a great time, and until next time, memento mori.